Hi YouTube, this is Mike, and this is part 3 of 4 in my series on craps math. In these videos I show you and demonstrate the different bets in craps, in particular the rules, and then I go through how to calculate the expected value of these bets using Excel and plain simple math. And parts 1 and 2 went over some of the essential bets in craps. This part 3 is going to go over some bets that aren't so essential. You don't need to understand these bets to get started playing. Nevertheless, I want you to understand almost all of the bets by the time you get through all 4 videos. So, this video is going to cover place bets, buy bets, and hardway bets. And as before, first I'm going to demonstrate how these bets work, what they pay, and then I'm going to go through the math of them. All right, so let's get started with place and buy bets. Let's begin by talking about place bets on the 6 and the 8. These bets are quite simple. A place bet on the 6, for example, will win if you roll a total of 6 and lose if you roll a total of 7. And anything else doesn't matter. The bet typically stays on the table until it either resolves as a win or a loss. But the player can take down the bet if he wishes to, but you don't see that very often. And wins pay 7 to 6 odds. So you should make place bets on the 6 and the 8 in increments of $6 so that you won't get rounded down and the pays will be nice round numbers for the dealers. So, okay, it's a come out roll right now, and you typically make these bets when it's not a come out roll. So it's still a come out roll, still a come out roll, still a come out roll. Okay, the point is a 5. So now it's safe to make some place bets. So I'm going to make them for $30 each on the 6 and the 8. And note my balance in the lower left corner. I started with 10,000. It's now at $99.40 because I just bet $60. Okay, so these bets are, one of them will win on a 6 or an 8, and they will both lose on a 7. Nothing happens, nothing happens. Okay, the 8 just won. So I bet $30 on the 8. Wins pay 7 to 6, so I just won $35. So I got my $30 back plus 35 in winnings. So I went from $99.40 plus 65 up to $10,005. So let's keep rolling the dice and resolve that place bet on the 6. Waiting for something to happen here. Okay, now you may wonder, why is there now that off chip on the 6? It's because the point was a 5 and we rolled a 5, so had we made a pass line bet, it would have just won. However, whether it won or lost, there's a come out roll right now. And place and buy bets get turned off during a come out roll. That means that it's not active right now. And if it does resolve with a roll of a 6 or a 7, I'm just going to get my money back with no win or loss. And that's exactly what just, no, excuse me. I'm not going to get a refund. What's going to happen is the bet just stays on the table if whether you roll a 6 or a 7 on the come out roll. In other words, it's, how shall I put it? The bet just got, shall we say, frozen through a come out roll. But now it's unfrozen, it's active again because it's not a come out roll. So we're rolling for a 6 here. And we just won. Again, much like the 8, we got our $30 back and 35 in winnings. So both those $30 bets would have won 35. 35 times 2 is 70. So that's why our balance is $10,070. It went up by $70 because both those bets won. Next, let's demonstrate place bets on the 5 and the 9. Now these work just like the place bets on the 6 and the 8. They win if you roll a 5 or a 9, depending upon what you bet on, and lose on a 7. and wins pay 7 to 5 odds. So this time you should bet in increments of $5. And it's a come out roll, so I'm going to roll the dice with no bet, and let's bet $100 each on the 5 and the 9. And let's note our balance right now, it's 98.70. And here we go. We're going to win on a 5 or a 9 and lose both bets on a 7. And we just keep rolling until one of those events happens. And we rolled a 5. So remember, I bet $100 on that. I said wins pay 7 to 5, so that $100 should have just won $140. So I got back my original bet of 100 and 140 in winnings. That's 240. And remember, I had 98.70 before. I just got back 240, so my balance should be at 10,110, which it is. Now let's resolve that 9 bet. Just on principle. Now, for reasons I just explained, it's a come out roll right now, so that bet is temporarily turned off. So nothing's going to happen to it no matter what I roll here on the come out roll. And just more come out rolls. Okay, now it's active again. So that 9 is going to win on a 9 and lose on a 7. Okay, so it's a new come out roll, so the bet is turned off again. Okay, the point is a 9, so the bet is active again. We're rolling for a 9. And we just lost. But I hope you understand the concept of the place bets on the 5 or 9. And next, let's talk about buy bets on the 4 and the 10. Next, we're going to talk about buy bets on the 4 and the 10. These work just like place bets in that they win if you roll the total you're betting on and lose on a 7. They effectively pay 1.95 to 1. In other words, 19 to 20 odds. Therefore, you should bet in increments of $20. And the way these bets are often expressed verbally is that they pay 2 to 1 less a 5% commission based on the bet amount if you win. Now, word of caution, some stingy casinos will make you pay the commission all the time, including on a loss. For example, you might, if you want to bet $100, say in the 4, you must actually put up $105. They just put the $5 immediately in the rack and then treat it as if the $100 pays 2 to 1. As I'm going to show you in the math section of this video, it carries a much higher house advantage if they do it that way. So only play if the commission is charged only on wins. So let's get started here. It's a come out roll, so let's not bet anything to keep it simple. And now let's bet $200 each on, no, let's just bet $100. Let's bet $100 each on the 4 and the 10. And remember, as long as the bets are divisible by $20, you're good. So here we go, $100 each. And we just won our bet on the 4. So we get back our original $100 plus $195 in winnings. That's 200 less 5% of the bet amount, which is 195. And you can see my balance is 10,095. After making those two $100 bets, it would have been 9,800, but I get back my original 100 plus 195, bringing my balance up to 10,095. And let's resolve that bet on the 10, shall we? Okay, it's a come out roll, so the bet is turned off. And it's back on, and we just lost. So there is your buy bets on the 4 and the 10. So we are ready to do some math to evaluate the expected value of those bets. Okay, let's work out the expected value of the place and buy bets. We are back at the spreadsheet that we started developing in part 1 of this series and added to it in part 2. Now this combinations sheet here is the fundamental sheet to everything in craps. It shows the number of ways you can roll any given total, and I explained this more carefully in part 1 of this series. And so I'm going to assume you already understand the number of ways you can roll any given total. So I already made a new sheet called the place sheet, and this is very much like the taking odds sheet that I developed in part 1 of this series. In fact, the bets work exactly the same way. They win and lose the same way, they just pay different odds. So let's go back to the place sheet. Now, you may recall that if you take odds on the 4 or the 10, they pay 2 to 1. However, as I explained before, they only pay 1.95 to 1 if you're making a buy bet. And on the 5 and the 9, they pay 7 to 5, which works out to 1.4. And on the 6 and the 8, they pay 7 to 6. And the number of winning and losing combinations are exactly the same as taking the odds, which again I go through in part 1. But just to summarize really quickly, there are 3 ways you can roll a total of a 4, for example, and there are 6 ways you can roll a total of 7. So your probability of winning on, if you buy the 4, is 1 in 3. It's 3 divided by 9, or 1 in 3. So, and again, I explain the way I analyze these bets more carefully in part 1 and 2, but this return column here shows the product of, for any given event, what it pays and the probability. And when you take the sum of these returns, you get the expected value of the bet. So on the 4 and the 10, the house advantage is 1.67%. On the 5 and the 9, it's exactly 4%. And on the 6 and the 8, it's 1.52%. So it's not too bad on the 6, 8, 4, and 10, but it's much higher on the 5 and the 9 at 4%. Now let me quickly address, what if they charge the commission all the time on the 4 and the 10? Well, then let's say you wanted to bet $20 on the 4. You would actually be betting $21, and if you win, you would get 40 in winnings, but you paid that $1 in the commission and you don't get that back. So it would be like winning $39. But we have to divide this return by the amount bet. So you're basically betting $21. So this shows a house advantage of 4.76% if the commission is paid all the time, which is much higher than the alternative. So let's go back to the way it was before. There we go. So if it's only paid on winnings, it's a much lower 1.67%. So I hope you understood that. Next, let's talk about hardway bets, and let's go back to the table to illustrate how those work. 3. We are back at the craps table to talk about hardway bets. Before we get into that, a word of terminology. There are 4 hardway bets, 1 each on a hard 4, 6, 8, and 10. Notice those are all even numbers. To roll one of those totals the hard way means that the 2 die faces are the same. For example, a 3 and a 3 would be a hard 6. If you roll one of those totals and the 2 die faces are different, for example, a 1 and a 5, that's said to roll that total the easy way. For example, a 1 and a 5 would be an easy 6. So hard way bets win if you roll the total that you're betting on the hard way, and they lose if you roll a total of 7 or you roll that total the easy way. So the probability of winning is much less than the place and buy bets, but you win more. And in particular, hard weight bets on a hard 4 and 10 pay 7 to 1, and on a hard 6 and 8 pay 9 to 1. As before, they're typically not made on a come out roll. So I just rolled a point of an 8, so it's safe to make some hard weight bets. And I'm going to make them $100 each on all 4. So here we go. We just rolled the point of an 8, and we rolled it the easy way. So my bet on a hard 8 just lost, and the other 3 are temporarily turned off because it's a come out roll. So let's make some come out rolls until we establish a point. Now let's remake our hard weight bet on the 8 because it previously lost. The other 3 are still active. Note our balance is now at 9,500. So here we go. And we just the same thing just happened. We rolled the point the easy way. So our bet on a hard 8 just lost, and the other 3 are temporarily turned off. Okay, now it's safe to make hard weight bets again. So I'm going to remake that hard weight bet on the 8. So our balance is now at 9,400. And we just lost another hard weight bet on the 8, so let's remake it. We're now at 9,300. And all four of them just lost on that 7. So let's get out of the come out roll and remake those bets. We're now down to a balance of 8,900. And all 4 of them just lost again on that 7. Okay, it's safe to make hard weight bets, so I'm making all 4. Note our balance is now at 8,500. And here we go. We just rolled an easy 6, so we lost the bet on the hard 6. That was the point, so the other 3 temporarily get turned off. And let's remake that hard weight bet on the 6, and our balance is now down to 8,400. And we just rolled an easy 6, so the hard weight bet on the 6 lost. We just rolled an easy 8, so the hard weight bet on an 8 just lost. And I am remaking these bets. Our balance is now at 8,200. Another easy 8, so we lost that again. Balance, I remade it, so the balance is now 8,100. Whoops, sorry. Another easy 8, let's keep remaking it. We're at 8,000. An easy 10, let's remake it. We're at 7,900. Another easy 8, we're at 7,800. Another easy 8, let's remake it. We're at 7,700. Finally a win. So we were at 7,700 before. We rolled a hard 6, which pays 9 to 1. So our $100 bet would have just won $900, plus we get our original bet back for a total of $1,000 back in the rack. So our balance just jumped by $1,000 from $7,700 to $8,700. And let's keep rolling here just to resolve these bets. And we just rolled a 7, so the rest of them just lost. So I hope that demonstration illustrates the rules of the hard weight bets, and now let's evaluate the expected value of them. Finally, in this video, let's work out the odds on the hard weight bets. To save time, I already created a hard weight sheet, and I copied and pasted the same structure from the place bets. And all we need to do is to fill in the combinations and the pays to get the expected values. So let's first do the 4 and the 10. As stated before, hard weight bets pay 7 to 1 on a hard 4 and 10. How many ways can you roll a hard 4, for example? Well, there's obviously only one way, a 2 and a 2. And let's go to the combinations sheet just to clarify that. Here is a 2 and here is a 2. So this cell right here represents the only way to roll a hard 4. So there's only one way to win. How many ways are there to lose? Well, let's go back to the combinations sheet. We can see that there are 6 ways to roll a 7. And how many ways can you roll an easy 4, which would also cause the bet to lose? Well, there's an easy 4 is a 1 and a 3. That can be achieved by rolling a 3 on die 1 and a 1 on die 2, as illustrated by this cell here, or vice versa, a 1 on die 1 and a 3 on die 2, as illustrated with this cell right here. So there are 2 ways, here and here, to roll an easy 4. So there's 2 ways to roll an easy 4, 6 ways to roll a 7, 2 plus 6 is 8. So there are 8 ways you can lose on a hard 4 or a hard 10. So you can see that there's an 11.1% chance of winning and an 18.9% chance of losing. Here's our return column. You take the sum of that and it reflects a house advantage of 11.11%, which is ironically, maybe ironically is not the right word, coincidentally the same thing as the probability of winning, 11.11%. And let's go on to the 6 and the 8. Again, there's one way to win either one of them. For example, a hard way bet on a 6 would only win on a 3 and a 3. There's only one way that can happen. And how about losing? Well, there's 6 ways you can roll the total of 7, which will cause the bet to lose. And there are 2 types of easy ways that will cause a hard 6 bet to lose, a 1 and a 5 or a 2 and a 4. Let's look at the 1 and the 5 first. There's one cell for that here and one here. And let's look at a 4 and a 2. There's one cell here and one cell here. So there's 2 ways, a 1 and a 5 and a 4 and a 2, and there's 2 ways or 2 orders that you can roll either one of those ways. So 2 times 2 equals 4. Therefore, there are 4 ways you can lose by rolling a 6 the easy way. 4 plus 6 is equal to 10. So there are 10 ways you can lose an easy way bet, a hard way bet on a 6 or an 8. As stated before, bets pay 9 to 1 if they win, and we put in a -1 if they lose. So you can see that the house advantage on a hard 6 or 8 is 9.09%, which again is coincidentally the same as the probability of winning. So both of these carry a high house advantage, about 9% and 11% respectively, and compare that to the low house advantage on some of the other bets, like 1.41% on the pass, 1.36% on the don't pass, 1.52% on a place bet on the 6 or the 8. So comparatively, the hard way bets are lousy bets. I would definitely call them sucker bets. So, wow, that's it for this video. I have said everything I wanted to say. So I hope to see you over in part 4, where I'm going to talk about the remainder of the bets and craps. They're all sucker bets, just to let you know in advance. And thank you for watching this video. I appreciate you making it all the way to the end. Please give it a thumbs up. If you liked it, I welcome your comments in the comments section. I take a look at those from time to time. And yeah, I'll see you over in part 4. Bye, YouTube.